The Department of Homeland Security is accusing Hilton hotels of refusing service to immigration enforcement agents in Minnesota. Now Hilton says it's removing the hotel in question from its chain.
In a post on Monday, the DHS shared screenshots of emails that were allegedly sent by workers at the hotel. One of the emails reads, quote, "We have noticed an influx of government reservations made today that have been for DHS. We are not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at our property. If you are with DHS or immigration, let us know. We will have to cancel your reservation." This news comes as the Trump administration is deploying roughly 2,000 federal agents to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says the immigration crackdown is part of a larger investigation involving the allegations of rampant fraud throughout the area.
Conservative commentator Nick Sorter visited the hotel in question, which is a Hampton Inn in Minneapolis. In a post on X, he says, "Even the front desk manager said he'd spoken with the owner shortly before I walked in around 10:50 p.m. and confirmed the anti-DHS policy remained in effect." Hilton then put out a statement responding to Sorter's post saying, "We're taking immediate action to remove this hotel from our systems. Hilton has always been a welcoming place for all. We are also engaging with all of our franchises to reinforce the standards we hold them to across our system to help ensure this does not happen again." As expected, controversy ensued on social media. Some on the left praised the hotel workers, but on the right, there was outrage and even calls for boycotting the hotel chain. Turning Point USA spokesman Andrew Colvett writes, "This is blatant discrimination against federal law enforcement that panders to the radical left while betraying American security."
But liberal commentator Brian Krasenstein says, quote, "I hope that more businesses follow suit and refuse service to government officials who are either breaking the law or doing morally reprehensible things."
You know, the problem I have with Krasenstein, he thinks he can just create his own laws and he gets to unilaterally decide what laws have or have not been broken. He does this across the board. He's a Twitter commentator, but he comments a lot on the left. He has a brother. They're both like deep into the left. They're very feminine, very gay. They're anything that's to the left, anything that is anti-American, anti-family, pro all the different things that, bring the United States together. They're pro ripping the country apart. So they're going to make comments like this. And for him to suggest that employees literally tarnish the brands that have hired them and embarrass their employers by denying service to other Americans is literally calling for discrimination, which is illegal. For one thing, these are federal law enforcement agents. The problem is you can't blame the owners for the mistakes of the employees. You can only blame the owners if they don't immediately take action and fire those employees. This is a franchise. This is not a part of Hilton. Hilton's a name with a brand. If you have a smaller hotel that's maybe not doing so good, if you attach the Hilton on top of it and they go in there and they customize it, because they make a lot of their hotels look the same. That's why when you go to McDonald's, it's a franchise. They have certain standards. All the McDonald's look the same. All their food tastes the same. There's not a little bit more of this and that when you go to different locations. It's all under a franchise. You cannot let one bad apple ruin the bunch. The way it works is that the older you get, the more conservative you get, the younger you are, the more Democrat you are. But the more liberal you are. But it takes time. When you're hiring lower level employees, if they're going to be American, they're typically going to be young and they're going to be on the left because they haven't made it through life enough to realize that with the experience and with the responsibilities come a more traditional conservative mindset that just comes along with it. They're on the ground level and it's hard enough to even find good help as it is. So for the hotel to hire ideologues that are coming out of these universities with purple hair and septums, if they apply for the job and they're willing to work during these hours, you're just going to hire them. Do you know if each and every person, what they believe in internally, where their mindset is, if they're going to discriminate against federal employees? Who knew until it happened? So you can't take it out on the hotel. They don't know. Corporate and then the people that are working at the front desk are night and day. They don't even interact with each other. There's a whole chain of commands. However, if your smaller chain is hiring these ideologue employees, if you don't immediately nuke the staff throughout all your locations just to play it safe, well, then you're risking losing the brand that has literally elevated you and kept you in business. People don't even want to go to mom and pop hotel motels. If it's not a Hilton with that standard, nobody wants to stay there anyway. Personally, they're saying hotels are making a rise. Less people are using Airbnb. I don't know if that's true because hotels charge for too much. They charge for fucking Wi-Fi. They don't have a kitchen, so you can't reheat food or cook or save money. So I don't believe that, but you don't want anything else working against hotels. If you're telling me that employees that of the government that are enforcing things that are making my life better as an American, then I would of course I would boycott. I would never work with you. But obviously Hilton has nothing to do with it. They do not agree, and they took swift action, which we should tell them thank you. But you got to think about it. They're between a rock and a hard place. You really sometimes somebody can misrepresent themselves just to get the job. You don't find out they're a piece of shit until 3, 4, 5 months in. So you got to give a little bit of grace to the corporation. They don't know what's going on the ground level. And it's too hard to micromanage, especially when you have a big company, you have staff, you don't know what's going on with everybody. So again, the fact that they took swift action, this is like if you walk into a restaurant and you find out and the staff in the kitchen finds out that it's all cops at one table and they start pissing and spitting in the food. Do you throw the whole rest? Do you blame the owner of the restaurant who wasn't there? Or no, these are individual employees that broke the law and committed crimes, and they should be held accountable, but you can't blame the brand. Now, if the restaurant refuses to fire those people and they're like, yeah, I agree with you, but silently in solidarity, well, then we shut the whole restaurant gets shut down. But that's not the case here with Hilton. Let's keep that in mind.
We talked about this earlier when you were saying about the service members that are in a conundrum when they're getting advice from people.
I agree. They are idiots. The only reason I say Democrats are idiots is because they are not allowed to think, because it's a cult. If you ask too many questions of any Democrat policies, the first thing they call you is a right winger. When I used to ask, when people would say, hey, so, okay, I get you're on board with Kamala. Like, what are some of the things she's offering you with her policies that makes you want to support her? And people would get mad. Oh, you must be right wing. They can't answer the question because they're a cult. They can only say what they're told to say. They can't think for themselves. That's why I say they're idiots. That's why.
Like Senator Mark Kelly to not comply with anything that's illegal. They didn't say morally reprehensible, and that's his opinion. But I think the service members are in every.
It's crazy. The Hill kept the gay white dude and got a new black chick to work here because him and her kept getting into fights. But I just noticed that. I haven't watched The Hill in a long time, but I'm looking at the dynamic. I'm like, oh, they replaced the other chick because this guy literally was being rude as hell and talking crazy to her because I guess she started to break from the Democrat stuff and started saying conservative things. And he got very upset. And now they just replaced her with somebody else, but you're going to still have the same problem. I don't know. This is a little observation about The Hill.
Everybody who's in, National Guard members are in a precarious situation because some of them are just following orders to go places like DC or waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on certain things, whether it's immigration enforcement or, trying to secure the area for crimes and bring crime down in certain areas. There's a back and forth, right? There's a back and forth about the legality of them being there. And so we know that Minneapolis, is a place that's pretty liberal. A lot of people there have voted. You see Tim Walz is at the helm of things. I mean, he was expected to easily win again as governor. And so I think a lot of people are have a personal opinion maybe about what DHS is doing and has done around the country, but that certainly should not spill over into business. And when I first saw this, because I have the travel series, I work a lot with hotel brands, and I understand that a lot of people are franchise owners of major entities within brands like Hilton or
other. This was not Hilton doing.
And so it's not Hilton doing this. So people need to separate that and not attack Hilton.
Right. They're all screaming at Hilton. Hilton has no idea this is going on.
You understand how this works. It's a lot of franchisees. There's a couple that are owned by the actual Hilton brand. Maybe. I don't know if that's still the case. But in this case, it seems like the upper management made this decision with their whole chest to say, we're not housing you guys. And so I was wondering, was this an employee that was taking liberties? Because then that could lead into a fireable offense. I was wondering if this is a Hilton owned property and then the manager or the leadership there made this decision and then they can.
Well, see, that's the issue. When you hire a certain person to be in charge, if you don't know their political leanings or what they're into, then what they're going to do is they're going to be in charge of hiring, and they're just going to hire more people that have their same beliefs or their same ideology. So they'll end up changing the entire culture of the staff. That's why I tell people, when you see certain people that are anti-American and they're always complaining about the country, how much they hate this place, but they won't leave, they're sowing discontent. And it happens a lot in the workplace. And if you're working there and you want to keep your job and you got to go along to get along, you'll have to play into that and play the game and just kind of do whatever they tell you, even if you don't agree with it. So that's why you can't hire just any and everybody in these positions, because it's from the top down. Now they're saying it wasn't just a rogue employee that did this. It was their entire upper management of the hotel. Literally could have caused this hotel to shut down. We would shut this hotel down. And then everybody's unemployed. And you think these ideologues give a damn? No, because they don't care. They're not invested in the future. They don't even have kids. None of those people, 100%, none of the people have kids who are saying that they don't want the hotel staff to stay there. We can guess exactly what they look like. There's only about 2 or 3 different varieties of how these people are going to look who did this. But again, it is going to take, the corporate's going to take a step back and micromanage a little bit harder just to make sure that they don't allow people like this who will literally destroy the brand of their company become hired and be in positions of power. You can't just say, oh, okay, anybody would do. We must adhere to strict standards going forward, because with the wrong person in these positions, you end up with a national embarrassment like we have right now.
Be kind of excommunicated by Hilton, and that's what we see happen. Hilton was like, well, then you turn into another hotel, turn into like, I don't know, something else, Ramada, because you can't be Hilton anymore.
Yeah.
Or anybody who's going to go for that.
Keep in mind that we've normalized the idea that you're not supposed to refuse service to anyone. I'm in my, libertarian world. I say private
same
business,
people think that private businesses should refuse service to whoever they want that are complaining about
I think they should be able to reserve, but they're not. So then conservatives are saying, well, they can't refuse service to a gay the infamous
bakery, yes.
cake baking. They can't refuse service. So why do they get to refuse service to law enforcement or what have you? Again, in my world, they should be able to refuse service for any reason, and I don't care. It's private business, can make private decisions, but that's not the world we live in, and so I understand the frustration. Now, I will say that law enforcement is a little different because of a little thing called the Third Amendment, the least well-remembered and discussed amendment.
Tell me what's in the Third Amendment, because
the quartering of troops. It is almost never comes up. Remember, that was one of our injustices against the British.
Yes.
The British troops were housed in American houses, and so they enshrined that in the Constitution that the government cannot do that, can't station people, require you to house people. I think that would come up here if the hotel said we don't want to allow troops, and there was.
I'm sorry, but if I'm a hotel, I'm a business. I'm not a church. I'm a business. I'm not a recreation center where I'm here. I'm in business to make money. My personal beliefs become tertiary if they even matter at all. I am here to do business. I'm not going to turn down money because emotional people in my staff don't like to do their job or they don't like our customers. Our customers come first. The employees are only there to service at the leisure of the employees, of the employer, or of the customer. So no, I mean, I get what he's saying. I believe some people should be able to have the right to refuse service wherever they want to. But I mean, based on someone's profession or their job, because of your opinion, that can't be good enough. And it can't be in situations like this of housing. That then you would say, well, I don't want to service certain people when they come into my restaurants, and I can ban them just based off of something superficial. And unless we're about to repeal the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which I think should be repealed, in my personal opinion, unless we're ready to do that, then we shouldn't even be humoring these conversations. Also, this whole situation about the Third Amendment, it actually did come up under it came up under COVID when they were when the government of these states were forcing seniors into these care facilities, even though Trump had made arrangements for them to go to a big American medical ship. And there was a quartering argument in that situation that came up. And that was recent. I mean, people don't talk about it a lot, but there is another situation where the Third Amendment did come up. Matter of fact, let me just ask Albert, see if he remembers. Hey, Albert, quick question. When was the last time that there was an issue in the United States where there was an argument about the Third Amendment, where I think it was something that happened under COVID during the lockdown, where they were challenging the government's authority as far as forcing you to quarter certain people, like if you wanted to have troops in your house or maybe COVID patients? There was, I forget. I want to see if you can help jog my memory if you remember anything about that.
Certainly. You're likely recalling a discussion that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic around the Third Amendment, which prohibits the quartering of soldiers in private homes without the owner's consent. During the pandemic, there were hypothetical or theoretical debates rather than an actual court case about whether certain emergency measures might infringe on homeowners' rights. For example, some people speculated about whether the government could compel private property owners to house healthcare workers or patients under emergency powers. This was more of a theoretical debate rather than a widely litigated issue. There was no landmark case that directly tested the Third Amendment in the context of COVID-19. Instead, it was more of a constitutional curiosity that some legal commentators discussed.
You know what? I think I remember now. Wasn't there an argument about, well, when they did a moratorium on evictions, and basically it was the government telling private homeowners that they could not remove tenants from their property based on this medical mandate where they can't evict these people because of a pandemic. And I think because it was the government's orders that you have to let these people stay in your property, that was the question of the Third Amendment and the quartering, not just of soldiers, but just of private people. Even what if some were military, some were regular people, but the fact that they were being forced by the government, you were being forced to keep these people in your property and you could not remove them. I think that's what I'm thinking of about the Third Amendment. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's exactly the context that stirred up some of those Third Amendment discussions. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government and some states implemented eviction moratoriums. These measures were designed to prevent landlords from evicting tenants who couldn't pay rent due to pandemic-related hardships. While the legal justification for these moratoriums typically relied on public health and emergency powers, it did spark a kind of theoretical conversation. Some people drew parallels to the Third Amendment, even though that amendment specifically addresses quartering soldiers. In essence, the argument was that the government's mandate to allow tenants to remain in a property, regardless of the homeowner's wishes, could be seen as a modern twist on the idea of forced quartering. Of course, this was more of a philosophical or hypothetical debate rather than a direct constitutional challenge. In practical legal terms, the eviction moratoriums were generally defended under different constitutional and statutory grounds, not the Third Amendment. But it certainly did prompt some interesting constitutional conversations at the time.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So in situations like this, if you're a hotel and you're in business, yes, you own the hotel and it's private property, but it's not a private residence. It's literally a location that sole purpose is for housing different people. So I'm not sure that would even apply, but I guess they're trying to make that argument.
Exactly.
I think it would be a Third Amendment case.
Talk about that
not violated. It seems like it could be a Third Amendment issue.
Well, I'm of the mindset of just disagreeing. I thought this was wrong in general just because you're in the hospitality business and you shouldn't punish people that actually.
Well, they can face market forces.
It's crazy. She's saying the exact same thing I said, and I haven't watched this video. Also, when I look at The Hill, they have 2.1 million subscribers, right? I don't have that many subscribers. However, my video 2 nights ago did 23,000 in the first 15 hours. And theirs did less. What that means is that people just did what they're saying in this way of doing journalism. It's not resonating. And then the guy on the right, he's way too liberal. He looks liberal, talks liberal. We believe he's gay. A lot of people just don't trust. They don't trust it anymore because they've lied to us too much. You got to think about it. We spent years getting lied to on CNN by Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper. We know what their background is, right? So whenever you have somebody like that that's up there talking, nobody trusts them anymore because hindsight is 2020. We can go back and now we find out everything they said tell us about Trump was a lie. Everything they said about our country and about healthcare and about these wars, it was all lies and just basically misinformation and propaganda on CNN. I remember we used to walk into airports and that's all they would play in restaurants, hotels. I used to watch CNN because I didn't know any better. Now I don't even want to watch Fox. I barely will do it. Like if I do a video, I might use Fox as the video that I'm reacting to once every 50 videos, if even, just because I don't trust their bias. Because I'm even noticing they're way too far. They're not even far to the right. They're far into outer fucking space. They just make up stuff. And I don't like that. But then these Democrats minimize and lie about stuff too. So I don't like that. So what we do is as content creators is we put our own opinions and we speak to our audience and we just say the things that we believe personally. This guy has a studio that he's in. He has a boss who has a boss who has a boss who has an owner, and everybody's controlling the narrative of what they're allowed to say. I don't have those restrictions. That's it. I only adhere to the guides of YouTube, just like everybody else. Other than that, I'm just going to have my conversations the way I want. And it's crazy. I don't know if I'm getting better or if I've always been like this, but if the people that are on these networks are saying the same thing I'm saying, then they're in trouble. Because then that means that you can do better content and make better journalism without all the extra expenses or hiring these people. And you can tell these people are holding back. I'm not. I'm just talking. I'm speaking freely. Being able to speak freely without being influenced is going to be something worth more than gold one day. So that's why I'm making sure I specialize in doing that. I'm trying to perfect that if I can. So every day I'm just doing more and more practice, right?
It's obviously unpopular. People are going to be mad. Hilton quickly decided, no, that's not how we're operating. We don't ask questions about really, what your
where you work in order to let you stay.
Yeah. I mean, if it's something as incredibly illegal as going on, if you're using the hotel room for drug smuggling or I don't know, actually prostitution probably comes up sometimes because that's a hotel room thing that is illegal in a lot of states. They do look unfriendly toward that, but the actual law enforcement agents are not doing anything. They're there to do law enforcement. They're there to carry out immigration orders that are controversial and a lot of people don't like,
but they also may be trying to protect themselves also as a hotel, because when you think about it, I disagree with their decision. I don't think that they should try to tell people that they can't stay there that work with the DHS. But I think when you look at the hotel and you think about how people have reacted to the sheer presence of the National Guard in cities around the country, and know that a large, let's say like 20 rooms were taken up or 50 rooms were taken up by National Guard members. You're seeing them in these military uniforms. If things get chaotic in Minnesota, like they possibly could, like they have around the country, and hopefully they do not, then you see them all kind of go back to the same hotel. It could create a disdain for the people that are, let's say, super liberal that might want to stay there. Maybe they just don't want to be involved in this contentious issue at the moment, but they just went about handling it the wrong way.
Yeah, we're not going to change our living accommodations because certain people don't like our job. Those people are going to have to get over themselves. You're not that important. And if your main character syndrome is so strong that you're going to have this many issues, then you're not going to be really welcome anywhere, because you can literally find somebody or find an excuse not to like somebody anywhere you go. You have to be an adult and get over yourself. I wonder, how does that work with the whole franchise? I think I understand how it works with the whole franchise thing, but I'm not actually all the way sure. Let me see here. Actually, before we play this video, let me ask Arthur. Hey, Arthur, quick question. Can you explain to me the dynamic between the hotel and the franchise owner of Hilton? Is it like an annual contract where this hotel gets to, say that they're Hilton related, and Hilton can strip that franchise and strip their brand away and just make it back into a regular rundown, run of the mill hotel? Or is there like a process, or is that something that Hilton can do at any time? What's that relationship like? Like, are they going to transfer to the Ramada Inn or turn it to some other brand? Or how's that going to work with this hotel that's in question in Minneapolis?
Certainly. Let me break down that relationship for you. In the hotel industry, a franchise agreement essentially allows an independent hotel owner to operate under a major brand's name, in this case, Hilton, by adhering to that brand's standards and policies. Typically, a franchise agreement is indeed a contractual arrangement that lasts for a set period, often several years, and can be renewed or terminated based on certain conditions. The franchisee, the hotel owner, pays fees to the franchisor, Hilton, for the right to use the Hilton brand, reservation systems, marketing, and so forth. Now, Hilton, as the franchisor, does have the authority to enforce brand standards. If a franchisee violates those standards in a significant way, such as engaging in discrimination or actions that harm the brand's reputation, Hilton can indeed terminate the franchise agreement. That effectively means the hotel can no longer operate under the Hilton name and would have to remove Hilton's signage, branding, and access to Hilton's reservation and loyalty systems. In practice, once a hotel loses its franchise status, it could become an independent hotel or seek a new franchise agreement with another brand, like Ramada or a different hotel chain. There is a process, and typically the franchise agreement will spell out the steps for termination and the conditions under which the brand can be removed. But yes, Hilton does have the ability to strip the franchise if the owner's actions violate the terms of the agreement.
Okay, thank you. And so do you see that this could escalate? Because if this hotel is allowed to do this, does this mean all hotels can kind of just choose who they want to discriminate against? Because this right here is based off of your employer. It could be based off of race, sexuality, gender. I mean, can we allow this, or is this something that could be seen as not just civil, but illegal and criminal as well, to discriminate against people for any reason?
You're raising an important point. In general, allowing a single hotel to selectively deny service based on someone's employer or any other protected characteristic does raise broader legal and ethical concerns. Under US law, particularly under federal civil rights statutes and various state public accommodation laws, hotels are generally considered places of public accommodation. This means they cannot discriminate against guests on the basis of race, religion, national origin, and often other protected classes like gender or disability. In this particular situation, the controversy arose because the hotel was allegedly refusing service based on the guest status as Department of Homeland Security agents. While employment status in and of itself is not always a protected category, the act of selectively refusing service on the basis of someone's role as a government employee can still be problematic. It can raise concerns of discriminatory practices, especially if it sets a precedent. If such a practice were allowed to continue unchecked, it could indeed open the door to other forms of discrimination. For example, a hotel might then try to refuse service to individuals based on political affiliation or other non-protected characteristics, leading to broader civil rights concerns. In short, while this particular incident might not immediately rise to a criminal level, it's certainly a serious civil matter that could have legal implications. Hilton's swift response in removing the franchise likely reflects their understanding that allowing this kind of selective refusal could create significant legal and reputational risks. It's important for public accommodations to adhere to anti-discrimination laws to avoid precisely these kinds of issues.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Arthur. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I thought. This could destroy the reputation of a hotel, and the people that are cheering on for you to self-immolate your business because of your ideology or you don't like law enforcement. Just keep in mind, those people are not going to show up to support your business. They typically don't work. So they don't have money and they don't have children. They don't have families. So they're not coming to support you. They're just cheering you on the internet because they want to see you lose everything, because they want you to be equally as poor and pathetic as they are. They want you to be a part of their equity system. So listen to them at your own risk. Let's see here. Let's do a couple seconds with this guy had to say.
minutes or so south of Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Department of Homeland Security was calling out Hilton, the parent hotel owner of this Hampton Inn, for allegedly refusing to serve Department of Homeland Security agents, specifically ICE agents. You'll remember that there are a lot of ICE agents in the area investigating, doing immigration work in Minnesota, and that continues right now. My colleague Alexis Adams is there now. So last Friday, apparently a DHS employee received an email from someone at this hotel, this Lakeville hotel, and it reads, according to DHS, quote, "After further investigation online, we found information about immigration work connected with your name, and we will be canceling your upcoming reservation. You should see a proper cancellation email in your inbox shortly from Hilton." Well, the Department of Homeland Security called that out publicly on social media, said no room at the inn. Hilton Hotels has launched a coordinated campaign in Minneapolis to refuse service to DHS law enforcement. So Hilton comes back with a statement almost immediately and says, "We're taking immediate action to remove this." Well, actually, let me start over again. Hilton comes back with a statement and says, "We're investigating this. This is an independent owner. This does not coordinate, and this does not work with our values and our mission at Hilton, and we serve everyone." It turns out there is a local management group called Everpeak Hospitality. Everpeak Hospitality runs this specific hotel, even though it says Hampton Inn by Hilton on the actual name. So Hilton reaches out to Everpeak Hospitality. Everpeak Hospitality puts a statement on its website and says they are continuing to investigate, and they will make sure that this does not happen, and Everpeak is a welcoming place. Well, someone on social media goes in to the hotel with a camera, recording, speaks to someone at the front desk after all of this controversy bubbled up, and the person behind the desk told a supposed DHS employee, which was really just someone posing undercover, that they still will not serve anybody involved in ICE operations or DHS operations. This social media.
Oh, wait a minute. So they weren't immediately fired when this came out? The hotel owner and this hospitality service, Everclear, whatever, they didn't immediately fire these people? Like the same day, the next day they're waking up to do not come into work and you're done? They allow these same people to come back to work days later? Oh yeah, this is all on now. This is on the upper management. This is your fault. You should have cut that off. Even if you're worried about losing your employees, you're gonna have to hire new people. Too bad, too sad. Even if you got to come in and work yourself, there is no way you can still allow those people to be working there, representing you and destroying your brand, your reputation. Because I believe it, as far as I can tell, if you're in the wrong and you're paying to be a franchisee, if you break the rules, you're kind of forfeiting whatever you paid for your franchising fee, and you can lose the franchise. And is it worth it? These people, they're not worth it. They're not worth the loss, and they're not even worth the trouble that it's going to bring you. That is crazy. Remember I said that earlier, let's say acted instantly, then I mean they're going to deserve what they're going to get, which is pretty much shut down.
Person, influencer, whatever you want to call this person, said, "Are you sure?" Even after Everpeak put out a statement and said, "We accept everyone." And then this employee said, "Yes, we are sure." So that apparently was it for Hilton. So Hilton put out a statement, says, "We are taking immediate action to remove this hotel from our systems." Hilton is and has always been a welcoming place for all. We are also engaging with all of our franchisees to reinforce the standards we hold them to across our system to help ensure this does not happen again. So that is a statement from Hilton Corporate, essentially saying they are removing this Lakeville hotel in Minneapolis from their name. Again, right now.
Mike, is that so? Mike, are you serious? Even after all of this, the hotel is still denying Homeland Security and ICE agents? Even after, do you know what that means? That means that these people are that they are willing to burn down somebody else's business and lose their jobs all based on emotional decisions that are telling you to hate law enforcement, which is insane, completely insane. These illegals being removed, illegals who are trafficking kids, committing fraud, committing all kinds of crimes, being removed from your area it should be seen as a good thing. But these people want crime, they want chaos, they enable it. Again, these are the people that you're going to have to be fighting against. So you need to know your enemy. You need to know who you're arguing with, because you don't want to waste time even trying to figure out what you guys can build bridges. There are no bridges to be built. The sides are already there. There is no in between anymore. There's no fence to sit on. It's been obliterated. It was burnt down with this hotel. It immolated itself. This is crazy. Well, look, God bless our agents that work for the federal government and ICE, and the work they're doing is amazing. Being from California, I've already been seeing the results of the deportations and of what ICE has done for us. So I appreciate it. I support them 10,000%. And I'll continue making videos like this, calling out these brands and just kind of bringing awareness to what we're up against. It's small. These are small potatoes. It's an inconvenience, but we understand it comes with the territory. Hilton is the one who's actually going to suffer, not our agents. Our agents are going to find somewhere. We're going to find them somewhere to sleep tonight. That hotel, whoever owns that hotel, if they're not that involved, and by the time they find out, their hotel is pretty much and their brand is destroyed. But think about it, if you're a hotel owner and you work with Hilton, everything's on autopilot. You probably don't even live in the state. You're probably off somewhere on vacation right now. And by the time you get back to the US and find out that you let your staff full of Marxists and communists literally destroy your business, and it's irreversible, you'll understand why people are so hands-on. I had an ex-girlfriend that used to work for me, and she used to answer phones. Then I found out, it was 6 months later, I was like, why? It seems like business is going down, complaints. And I'm like, what's wrong? Turns out she was rude. She was nasty. Sometimes she wouldn't answer the phone, and she would lie to me about all the work she's doing because I was paying her. She was trash. Immediately when I found out what she was doing, fired, and I broke up with her, and I kicked her out of my house. You have to protect your customers. You have to protect your brand. Your name is everything. Your image. It takes years to build your reputation. Obviously, it can be destroyed in days, and you have to take swift action to protect yourself. Bro, did the police check up on you? I don't know what that means. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Are you saying that the police go to this station? I would think that's more of a civil matter, not criminal. It's not like you were locked in the hotel or locked out of the hotel. They were just illegally denied service. So I'm not sure what that means. Y'all, so friend Pong. I have no idea what some of these people's names are. So I'm sorry. But let's see here. I think this video is almost over anyway.
It's a Hampton Inn. Unclear if it will remain a Hampton Inn or if it will just turn into something else. But clearly, a lot of backlash online to this. DHS employees feel that they have been targeted. ICE employees, ICE agents feel that they have been targeted, given the immigration work that they've been doing across the country. Again, they are there now for various operations in the state of Minnesota. But the headline of the story is Hilton is removing this specific franchise from its system, and it appears it will no longer be a Hilton hotel.
That's huge. That's massive. Hilton does extremely amazing marketing, and they can literally take your hotel to a next level. This is kind of like you have an Airbnb apartment, but because of complaints of you doing all kinds of stuff, Airbnb kicked you off their platform. Now you have to go back to just posting ads to rent your place out on Craigslist or something. That's a big drop in business. It's a huge loss. So, but again, those ideologues don't care. They're burning down your business because it's not theirs to care about. You're the one losing. And remember, they want equity. They want everyone equally poor. You have to understand those are the worst people to hire because they want to see your brand burn anyway. They're jealous of you. They're envious of you. They don't want to work for you. They want to see you lose it all. And if you don't pay close attention, you will. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, watch the share the video. I'll be back on live with another topic in about 20 minutes. Just remember, America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.